You ready to start?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Break Room Podcast once again. I am your host, Eric, and the other host, Trey. Say hi, Trey.
Hi, Trey.
Yes, sir.
I was in mid-yawn, sorry.
It's all right. We still got the take. And welcome back to Waco, an American Tragedy series. Today will be the part 2 and final of the series. Last week, we went over the origins of the cult and what brought them to the raid on their compound. If you'd like to see that, please go watch part 1. But if you already watched it, you're here now. So, let's read the second part of Waco, an American Tragedy by Trey and Derek. Are you ready, Trey?
I am ready.
All right. So, we're going to be starting at part 4. Like I said last time for you, Trey, I keep looking over at you at the Discord when I can't even see you. I don't know why I keep doing that, but...
I was doing that for a while now, but now I have OBS pulled up, so...
However, like I said last week, if you have any questions at all, or if you're interested in something that you can think there's more details of that I didn't cover, please feel free to ask me and we can congregate on the subject, alright?
Okay. Let me get some to drink. Let me pop.
Okay.
Let me pop this over.
Okay.
Okay.
You get something right?
Yeah.
Okay. You situated now? You comfy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Part 4 of the Waco series, entitled Revelations 6:8. Do you know what that is, Trey?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not very familiar with verses. Most verses.
I'm not either, but when it comes to the Book of Revelations, I know one or two of them. So that's why I named it this one. And I'll read what it actually means, and then hopefully you guys will understand why I named it that as we go on through the raid. So, Revelation 6:8 states, "And I look, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth." I feel like a real smart cookie when I talk like that sometimes. Are you ready to get into it?
Yeah, I feel like a real smart cookie when I'm drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade while I'm recording the podcast, but we know it ain't no Stella Artois.
That's how my dad always used to say it until I corrected him. He used to drink that all the time when I was younger. And
What, Stella?
He call it Stella Artois. I'm like, Dad, what's that? He's like, oh, I'm drinking ice cold Stella Artois. And then I don't know.
That sounds like
16.
sounds like a cartoon, like Dad saying it. Stella Artois.
It's Stella Artois. And I was like 17 or 18 at the time, and I finally went, Dad, do you know what's Artois? He went, what? I said, yeah, it's like French or something.
You go,
went,
what?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Is it French?
I think it's either I think it's French.
I couldn't tell. The logo makes it look almost Spanish.
Well, Artois sounds like a French word.
Yeah, I know.
Or it could be some other European nation. I don't know.
Yeah, some Heine. Drink
Christ,
Heine.
Not the Heineken commercial.
Yeah, I know. It's something else.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways,
let's get into part 4.
Mm-hmm.
The ATF had planned their raid for Monday, March 1st, 1993, with the code name Showtime. The ATF later claimed that the raid was moved up a day to February 28th, 1993, in response to Waco Tribute Herald's The Sinful Messiah series of articles, which the ATF had tried to prevent from being published. Any advantage of surprise would be lost on the 28th, however, when a KWTX-TV reporter who had been tipped off about the raid asked for directions from a U.S. Postal Service mail carrier about a mile and a half outside of the compound. With fear and shock in his eyes, the worker instantly drove away. This man was coincidentally Koresh's brother-in-law. Once the man got back to the compound to warn Koresh and the rest of the group, Koresh then told undercover ATF agent Robert Rodriguez, the guy that was coming in and out of the compound as we talked about last week,
yeah,
that he knew the raid was imminent. While Oh no, I messed up my reading. My writing, I mean.
Oh.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
I lost my place. My spacing is weird. He knew the raid was imminent. While internally surprised by his cover being blown, Agent Rodriguez externally acted as if he had no idea what David was talking about, found an excuse, and left the compound. When asked later about the Branch Davidians had been doing when he left the compound, Rodriguez had stated that they were praying. While the women and children were told to take cover in their rooms, Koresh had ordered the men to arm themselves and take defensive positions throughout the compound. David explained to them that he would go out and talk to the agents when they arrived to try to stop the imminent raid. So even as a doomsday cult leader, as the gates of hell and Babylon unleash upon him, which is the ATF with guns and shit, he's like, all right, instead of fighting to the end like I've taught you for a long time, we're just gonna try to talk it out first, guys, okay?
That's
like, all right.
That was what Crash was saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because everyone's scared, even though they prepared for this for years. They're still scared at what's about to happen, because what the reporter or the mail carrier had said was that the reporter had told the mail carrier that the raid was going to be loud and violent. So that's why he had shock in his eyes. And he sped off as fast as he did. So, while the Davidians were preparing for the worst, the ATF was preparing for war. While their knowledge of the cult was that of the affidavit written by Agent Aguilera, they were kitted out to the teeth, even going as far as to write their blood types on their clothing. The ATF was waiting for a gunfight to ensue when they set off for the compound that morning. The ATF arrived at 9:45 a.m. in a convoy of civilian vehicles and covered trailers. David, seeing the convoy arrive, poked his body out of the front right door of the compound with his hands raised. After a few words back and forth between David and the ATF, a shot rang out. The ATF agents that were there that day claimed that they had heard shots coming from within the compound, while the Branch Davidian survivors claimed that the first shots came from the ATF agents outside. A suggested reason may have been an accidental discharge of a weapon, possibly by an ATF agent, causing the ATF to respond with fire from automatic weapons. Another theory that has come out and is widely cited is that a group of agents going around the side of the compound had been spotted by the Davidians' dogs, which they had fired upon. I don't know how much you know about the ATF.
I know that a lot of people who like the Second Amendment don't like them.
Yeah, because they like to fuck with gun laws a lot. Mm-hmm. They'll say like one year they'll say something's fine, the next year they'll say it's illegal or whatnot.
Yeah.
However, a big controversy that the ATF have had for a long time is that they kill dogs on sight when they go raid somewhere. I don't know if have you ever seen an ATF kill dog meme?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'll have to send you some later. But yeah, the ATF was very widely known for just shooting dogs on sight to hide their cover when they raid somewhere.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, 3 helicopters of the Army National Guard were used as an aerial distraction, and they all took incoming fire. During the first shots, Koresh was wounded, shot in the hand and the stomach while running behind the door he was standing in front of. While the left door was in good condition, even after the aftermath of the raid, the right door disappeared entirely. There is one statement made by an agent that states the other agents put the door in a U-Haul truck and drove it away. However, I personally question this rumored statement. Okay, so the reason that the door is so important, that right door, was because, like I told you, David got shot, right?
Yeah.
So if David got shot behind the right door, he was not only an unarmed pedestrian, but he was an unarmed pedestrian fleeing and not fighting. That is against the rules of the government, essentially. Rules of engagement does not say that you can do that. However, because of that, a lot of people say that there was a statement that a U-Haul truck came and took the door away.
Okay.
So they're trying to cover up evidence, is what I'm saying.
Right.
As the gunfight ensued, Wayne Martin, a Davidian member, called the emergency services, pleading for them to stop shooting. Audio tapes recording him saying, "They're here they come again," and "That's them shooting, that's not us," as several shots are fired throughout the phone call. There is also snippets from the call stating that there were women and children in the building, and that since the ATF shot first, they have the right to defend themselves. Those were quotes from Wayne Martin. He called 911 and basically was like, hey, what the fuck's going on here? Why is the ATF shooting at us? We didn't shoot at them. There's women and children here. We're all fucking scared. Can we, like, call this off for a fucking minute and talk? And they had no idea what to do, because obviously it's out of their hands, because it's in the ATF's hands. Okay. So, soon after the call was made, the ATF took their first casualty. An agent who had made it to the west side of the building was wounded and killed. Agents quickly took cover and fired at the buildings while the helicopters began their diversion and swept in low over the complex. So by the way, about the helicopters, there is I don't even know how this is possible, and I don't want to say this as a confirmed thing because I don't know if this is on record or not. It's just things I've read. There is a couple ATF agents that were there that claim there was never helicopters there to begin with, which is fucking phenomenal because they're in the video. So, yeah. So after they swept over the complex and did their diversions, the helicopter pilots chose to pull away from the compound and land after taking several shots to their crafts. On the opposite side of the compound from where the first agent was killed, agents brought out ladders and set them against the side of the building. So where they put the ladders is on the left side of the front door. It's got... I'm going to guess you've seen the photo of the compound, right?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at some right now, and I'm trying to look at that right door.
Yeah, so the front door is a two-door system. It's a left and right, and that's a bigger part of the building. There's two long hallways on each side. They put the ladders on the left side. So they climbed onto the roof to secure it, and the objective was to reach Koresha's room in the location where they believed the weapons were stored. On the roof, 3 agents reached Koresha's window and were crouched beside it when they came under fire. The Davidians were shooting through the wall at them because they saw them through the window. 1 agent was killed, while the other 2 were wounded entering the window after a flashbang stun grenade was thrown. They, in turn, killed the Davidian member while inside the compound and reaching the armory as the 3rd agent joined them. Inside the armory, the agents killed a branch Davidian and discovered a cache of weapons, but subsequently came under heavy fire. 2 more agents were wounded. As they escaped, the 3rd agent laid down covering fire, killing a Davidian. As he made his escape, he hit his head on a wooden support beam and fell off the roof but survived. Have you ever seen that video?
No, okay, so if I wanted to see that video, what would I have to look up?
I think you'd have to watch the documentary. I don't think it's on YouTube.
Okay, alright.
But yeah, he fucking rolls down the roof and just bop right on the floor. I shouldn't laugh because it's a federal agent and he got shot, but it's funny to watch this man roll off the roof.
So where are the ladders at? I see where the front door is, on the right side of the building.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like in the middle section, right? And there's 2 hallways. Or two sides of the building that branches off left or right of the front door. You get what I'm saying?
I think so.
Either way, the ladder's on the left side of the front door. There's like a shorter part of the building when it's like a long corridor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where they put the ladders at.
Okay, so in every picture you see, I'm seeing on here though, you cannot see the ladder.
I wonder why that is. Can you just not find a picture of the ladders?
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's nothing great. It's just 2 like utility ladders that they put up to go up to the top floor or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he fell off the roof, but he survived. Overall, 45 minutes into the raid, the gunfire began to slow down as agents began to run low on ammunition. The shooting continued for a total of 2 hours straight. In total, 4 ATF agents and 5 Davidians were killed in the first gunfight, with 16 other agents injured. After the ceasefire, the branch Davidians allowed the ATF, dead and wounded, to be evacuated and held their fire during the ATF retreat. While the Davidians were burying their dead, 1 member was shot and killed. Claims from the agents state that the man started shooting at them with a pistol while walking back to the compound. However, it has never been confirmed whether or not this is true. Now, that was part 4. Do you have any questions so far?
No, I'm still following. I'm just genuinely curious. It's like one of those things with like that you hear with the JFK assassination. You try looking for little details in the pictures, That's where I'm at right now, and I'm just trying to understand where everything was happening at while I look at the picture of the compound.
Let me, if I could make it very broad for you, just a layout of the compound. The compound's essentially kind of like a backwards L with little buildings in that L shape on the inside of it.
Yeah, I put a picture in the
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put that on the episode. Where is it at?
General text channel.
Okay. Oh, okay, perfect. So, okay, you see. Okay, I'm not gonna try to explain it on the podcast because I'm just looking at one section of the image. But, anyways, so you don't have any questions of part 4? We can go to part 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Part 5. FBI takes the reins. After the first day of the raid, the leadership of the operation was handed off to the FBI, something that is standard whenever a federal agent has been killed. The team is composed of the FBI's hostage rescue team. Within that first day, David had telephone contact with the local news media and gave phone interviews explaining the situation that took place that morning. However, the FBI cut Davidian phone lines, leaving them voiceless to the outside world. After establishing a new phone line from the compound to the FBI negotiators directly, this was their only source of communication by phone for the next 51 days. Within the first few days, the FBI believed they had made a breakthrough when they negotiated with David an agreement by the Davidians would peacefully leave the compound in return for a message recorded by Koresh being broadcast on national radio. With this potential resolution in their grasp, the negotiators agreed and broadcasted the cult message. However, after the broadcast, David told negotiators he had received a message from God that told him to wait in the building for now. Soon afterwards, negotiators managed to facilitate the release of 19 children, ranging in age of 5 months to 12 years old, without their parents. Now, when I say without their parents, I mean they were split up as soon as they left the building. There was some adults that left too at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them were their parents, and they instantly were like, nope, you're coming with me, and they're going over there. And they instantly got split up, and everyone was scared to leave the compound after that because they thought they were going to be able to just walk out peacefully.
Yeah.
So this made people more like, okay, well, I'm not fucking leaving the building. This is what's going to happen, right? So the children were then interviewed by the FBI and the Texas Rangers, some for hours at a time. Allegedly, the children had been physically and sexually abused long before the standoff. This still left 98 people in the building. In the following days, the FBI cut power to the compound and drove tanks up to the property. The FBI also sent a video camera into the compound. In the videotape made by Koresh's followers, Koresh introduced his children and his wives, quote-unquote, to the FBI negotiators, including several minors who claimed to have had babies fathered by Koresh. Koresh had fathered perhaps 14 of the children who stayed with him in the compound at the time. He had 14 children at the time.
Ugh. Gross.
So, I know. Don't worry. I don't like the guy either. Several Davidians made statements in the video. This was David's opening statement, though. So this is him in quotations, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Bringing these tanks and stuff around here, I tell you what. Being an American first, I'm the kind of guy that'll stand in front of a tank. You can run me over, and I'll be biting one of the tracks. No one's gonna run over me or my family. That's American policy here. You could have arrested me any day as I jogged up and down the road. You could have arrested me going to town or going to Walmart. And there's more to it, but I just want to cut it off there because it's like a 6-minute fucking video.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of guy. That's how he would talk, basically. So on day 9, Monday, March 8th, the Branch Davidians sent out a videotape to show the FBI there was no hostages, but everyone was staying inside on their own free will. There was concern that the tapes released to the media would gain sympathy for Koresh and the Branch Davidians. The video also showed the 23 children still inside the compound. Two of the three water storage tanks on the roof of the main building had been damaged during the initial ATF raid. Eventually, the FBI cut all water to the compound, forcing those inside to survive on rainwater and stockpiled military MRE rations. Along with this, the tactic of using sleep and peace disturbance against the Branch Davidians was started. This included setting up massive speakers and blasting crazy sounds throughout the night. All night long. Sounds included dolphin noises, horse noises, rabbits being killed, etc. As the standoff continued, David negotiated for more time around April 14th. Before I continue, I want to add on to the sleep in peace disturbing sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what's called psychological warfare, as you know it in Vietnam.
Yeah.
With the ghost noises. So this is essentially what they were doing here, only they were using crazy fucking sounds to drive someone insane. And when they were asked about this on TV, I can't remember if it was the leader of the FBI or the leader of the negotiations team. They were asked if he was using psychological warfare on the Branch Davidians, and he answered by stating, "I don't know what psychological warfare is."
What?
So he was lying, obviously, because they didn't want people to know that they were doing that to people.
Yeah.
So this happened for several days, just all night long, from sundown to sunup. They played these noises as loud as they could. And before they cut the power to the building entirely, what David would do is he would go up to the very... So, you know how on the picture of the compound, there's a very, very tall building?
Yeah.
Almost like the middle. He would go up to that top window, and he would play his guitar with the amp all the way turned up to try to counteract the noise of the speakers.
Who did that?
And that's David.
Nice.
And then that was the day they shut off the power. So, as the standoff continued, David negotiated for more time around April 14th. Now, this has been like a whole month. Now we're a whole month into it, basically. Like day 43, I think, something like that.
Yeah, out of 51.
Out of this back and forth fucking battle between the ATF, FBI, and the fucking Branch Davidians. Allegedly, after receiving his final message from God, he was to write religious documents before surrendering. These documents were David's personal rendition of the 7 seals of Revelation. When these documents were completed, David was to come out and surrender with all of his followers. Also around this time, Koresh ordered a group of followers to leave. 11 people left and were arrested as material witnesses, the one person charged with conspiracy to murder. Now, up in Washington, D.C., politicians were getting unwilling to wait for the group to surrender. Many of them actually stated that they were afraid it was going to end up like Jonestown, where they're all just going to drink the Kool-Aid and die.
They were afraid that was going to happen?
Yeah, they were really afraid that these guys were going to be like Jonestown.
Oh, okay.
So they really wanted the ATF and FBI to fucking end it, because they did not want a mass suicide on their hands. So many of them would plead to President Clinton that if the ATF and FBI wouldn't end the standoff soon, that could get out of hand, which is what I'm basically saying, is that they were afraid they were all going to kill themselves, or they were afraid that they were all going to come out of the compound guns blazing and try to kill as many as they could before they were all gunned down.
Yeah.
That's what they were all afraid of. However, this, as you can probably figure out by what I've talked about so far, that's not the case. They did not want to do that. They just wanted to live at the fucking compound peacefully. Not good people, but they did not want to kill anyone.
Right.
Part 6. We are on to part 6 of 7, alright? Any questions from part 5?
No, I'm still following.
Okay. Part 6. The End Times. On April 19th, 1993, 51 days after the initial standoff, the final assault was launched. Excuse me. That morning, the FBI circled the compound with several armored combat engineering vehicles, also known as CEVs, and warned the Branch Davidians that this was their last warning to surrender. Shortly after this, one of the group members that was negotiating over the phone threw the phone out the window. At this point, the CEV... I love how you laughed at that, because it made me laugh when I typed it. Shortly after this, the window. At this point, the CEVs used explosives to punch holes in the walls of the building of the compound so they could pump CS gas, or tear gas, and try to force the Branch Davidians out without harming them. You say yeesh?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like their last ditch effort. They were like, okay, if we can't go in there and take them peacefully, then we're just going to gas them out, because there's no other way of getting them out of there, is what their mindset was. As the gas poured in, the women and children were ordered to get into the bunker under the compound. Loudspeakers were to be used to tell the Branch Davidians that there would be no armed assault and asked them not to fire on the vehicles. They, however, did fire at the tanks, just to put that out there. They were not peaceful the whole time. They got to the point where they're like, fuck this, they're throwing tear gas in our place, they blew up our walls, we're just going to shoot at the tanks. After more than 6 hours, no Branch Davidian had left the building, likely due to people hiding in the bunker and their stockpile of gas masks. By the way, they had a fuck ton of gas masks. However,
the ATF?
They did not... What?
Who, the ATF or?
No, Branch Davidians.
Okay.
They had stockpiles of them. However, and this will come into importance later on in the paragraph or the part, they did not fit kids.
The gas masks?
Yes.
Okay.
At around noon of that day, April 19th, 3 fires broke out almost instantaneously in different parts of the building and spread quickly. This is the most controversial part of the entire Waco story. The FBI and ATF to this day state that the fire was started by the Branch Davidians on purpose, while a few survivors from the inside of the compound and other experts maintain the fires were accidentally or deliberately started by the assault, possibly by the types of pyrotechnic rounds used by the FBI. Now remember that for the end of the story, okay?
Okay.
There has never been a conclusive decision made about the start of the fire. To this day, even. 9 people managed to make it out of the blaze. The remaining Branch Davidians, including the children, were either burned alive by rubble in the bunker, suffocated, or shot. Many were killed by smoke or carbon monoxide inhalation and other causes as fire engulfed the building for only a little over an hour before the structure fell. So you see how big that structure is?
Yeah.
Only took an hour, and the fucker was gone. That's how fast that thing went up.
And they're saying that the Branch Davidian, they think the Branch Davidians did it, but no one knows.
So yeah, the FBI and ATF are like, yeah, they did it on purpose. Like, we have a recording of them saying that they were gonna light the tanks on fire, and that's what started the fire. And then the 9 people that got out of the building that day say that whatever CS gas launchers they were using started the fire, because CS gas actually is very flammable, I guess, when I was looking all this up.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to have a spark ignite it. So we'll get to that in a minute, okay?
Okay.
All 76 or so members that were left, including David, died within the compound that day. Most of the men's bodies discovered show that they had died trying to save the women and children trapped inside the rubble of the collapsed bunker brought on by the tanks. So I should mention, when the tanks punched holes in the walls and they drove into them to pump the CS gas in, they ran over the bunker that held all the women and children inside of it, and it collapsed the roof so they could not get out of the bunker. They were trapped in it. Yeah. Brought on by the tanks. David was shot in the back of the head as an alleged mercy killing by one of his right-hand men, Stephen Schneider, who then shot himself. Several other members were also found to have been mercy killed during the blaze. One of the 9 survivors to make it out of the compound came out with Koresh's writings of the 7 seals of Revelations, showing that David was keeping his promise by having the writing nearly done. And this was brought up in the trial of Waco, by the way. They kept it as evidence, reprinted it, and it was basically 3/4 of the way done, if I remember right. His writing that he wanted to do.
Oh, okay.
So that's why he asked for more time, because he was about done with it. He just wanted a little bit more time to finish it, and they said, no, sir. And this was the outcome. Nearly done. During the 6-year legal battle between the agents and leaders and Congress that finally ended in 1999, the FBI admitted they used tear gas grenades in the last leg of the raid, which have been known to cause fires because of their incendiary properties. So that's why I told you to remember that. So for the longest time in the trial, the FBI said we didn't use any pyrotechnics whatsoever. So it couldn't have been us that started the fire, right? And then in 1999, they said, well, we did kind of use tear gas grenades, and those kind of start fires, but it wasn't us, we swear to God. That's basically how it went. So in the end, there's no real conclusion on who started the fire, but it's most likely that their grenade launchers started the fire. So that was part
Huh.
6. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm just getting educated and looking up all the frickin' pictures. I'm like picking out every single detail, and I can see the pictures of where the helicopters were landing and everything.
Well, I'm very glad that you are intrigued as I'm reading. I did not think you were going to be this intrigued into the Waco story. Are you ready for the conclusion?
Yeah.
Okay. Part 7, conclusion. Nothing remains of the buildings today other than a concrete foundation, and the entire site was bulldozed 2 weeks after the end of the siege. Only a small chapel, built years after the siege, stands on the site. The FBI wants to reevaluate its tactics and procedures. The agency made several adjustments in response to the criticism it faced. Firstly, there was a greater emphasis on crisis negotiation and peaceful resolutions, leading to the increased training and the establishment of the specialized negotiation teams. Secondly, the hostage rescue team underwent enhancements in terms of training, equipment, and coordination to improve their effectiveness in high-risk operations. Additionally, so there's a lot more here about the FBI, which I really don't want to go into. Essentially, the FBI was, what's the word I'm looking for? Bastardized by the American people for a few years because of this. Especially because before this, Ruby Ridge had happened. Have you ever heard of Ruby Ridge?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well that'll be another series that we do, because that was their first whoopsie right before this happened. Same team that was at Ruby Ridge was the same team that was here. And so they fucked up really bad at Ruby Ridge. Essentially, to make a really, really, really long story, very vague and short, this dude was entrapped by a ATF agent to make him sawed-off shotguns. So the ATF agent was like, hey, can you make me some sawed-off shotguns? The dude, Weaver, said, yeah, sure, I'll make them for you. And then once he found out he was an undercover agent, he's like, what the fuck? You entrapped me? What? Don't ever come back to my property again, shit like that. So they launched a raid on him, and they ended up shooting his dog, his son, and his wife in the process.
Yikes.
Yeah. So they were not very liked after all this. And obviously they still aren't now. But I mean, it was really bad back then.
Right.
They were hated. So, yeah, did you have something to add? I'm sorry.
So I'm on Google Earth, and when you said that the only thing standing is that concrete foundation,
Yeah.
those two pools,
Yeah.
that were behind and to the left of the building, those are still there, and you can see the foundation of the middle and the left side of the building. Other than that, there's just a church there now.
Yeah, I said what did I say? A small chapel stands on top of it. I'm gonna guess the pools counts as the foundation.
Yeah,
because it's in the concrete.
I think that chapel is still part of the Branch Davidians.
Yeah, it has their seal on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
So, continuing to round this off, the ATF decided in October of 1995 that dynamic entry would only be planned after all other options had been considered and began to adjust its training accordingly. So after all this backlash, they're like, alright, fuck it. You know, we have all this equipment, but you guys don't want us to use it? Fine. We'll only use it as a last precaution, because you guys don't like us to go in and take people peacefully. Quote unquote peacefully. So now they just do hostage negotiations or arrests. They don't even try to do anything like Waco anymore. Obviously, for obvious reasons. 9 of the 12 survivors... Because they failed horribly twice. Twice, mind you. Back to back. 9 of the 12 survivors who went to trial for the siege got sentenced up to 40 years. Several surviving Branch Davidians, as well as more than 100 family members of those who had died or were injured in the confrontation, brought civil suits against the United States government, numerous federal officials, and former governor of Texas. The bulk of these cases were dismissed because they had insufficient as a matter of law or because the plaintiffs could advance no material evidence to support them. In all, the Waco siege is an all-American tragedy. No one needed to die from this 51-day standoff, However, many lives were lost due to the ignorance within the politics of the matter, as well as the cult's adversity to stand their ground for the sole reason of their leaders' teachings. In 35 days from the time of recording, which was last week, it will be the 31st year anniversary of the end of the standoff. With how much time has gone by, we can only hope that the country has learned from this tragedy, and hopefully something so hellish will never happen again between the government and its citizens. The end. Do you have any questions about the conclusion? Do you have any questions about the people suing the government or the ATF or the FBI, anything like that?
I'm not necessarily interested in how the FBI and ATF are feeling after the fact, but the Branch Davidians are still a thing now. I know you said the chapel, obviously, but apparently Branch Davidians, I guess there's different locations sprinkled around the United States and the world.
Yeah, they kind of. This is gonna be funny.
They branched off.
I mean it on purpose. They not only do they branch off, but they have little cult followings, quote unquote, throughout the United States, which I think is a funny sentence to say out loud.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the story of Waco. How did you like it, Trey?
It went exactly how I imagined it. I feel like I need to watch the series and the documentary now.
So I think I told you this last week, but I'll tell you again. Watch the documentary first and then the series. And for those of you at home, if you're interested on anything that we were talking about, watch the Waco documentary. There's like 5 of them, but just watch one of them and then watch the series, because their endings are 2 very different endings. The series ending will show the ATF members crying and shit as the compound burns to the ground. But in real life, the ATF agents hoisted a flag on top of the burned building and took pictures with corpses.
Who
and
did
they were
that?
laughing. The ATF agents.
Oh, Christ.
And you can find those pictures on Google if you look hard enough. So, with that being said, Trey, you said this is how exactly was going to go down for you. You didn't think it was going to be anything different?
Mm-mm.
Are you mad at the ATF more or the Branch Davidians more?
Probably the ATF.
Yeah, that's everyone's consensus. There's a lot of people on the internet that'll say that people are dumb if you think the ATF was stupid for this, which I think that's a recent kind of opinion because, it's been 31 years, so not a lot of people know the details of it or whatnot. So essentially what I wanted to do with this was to give everyone a very brief summary of what happened and how the government cannot do very good things sometimes. With that being said, before we end the episode, this is all jokes. I don't mean any of this seriously. Trey doesn't mean any of it seriously either, right, Trey? It's all jokes?
About what? I didn't say
about the ATF?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to be on a watch list or a security risk. None of that. This is just a funny video for people on the internet, and do not take my words seriously.
It's educational.
Yeah, this is educational YouTube, and the FBI and the ATF. Do not come for me or Trey. We are perfectly fine citizens. We are not we are not crazy people, I promise.
Oh,
so with that being said,
that silo in the back behind the building, I didn't know that was a water tower.
Yeah, I think that was the only one that didn't get damaged, because there's 3 of them. 2 of them were on the roof, and those are the ones that got damaged, I think. And that's why they had to drink rainwater. But I think that one was the only one that was working. I'm not for sure. But regardless, it's gone now.
Yeah, I saw a picture of the burned compound.
Okay, that's what I use as a thumbnail. I think that's the same picture I use as a thumbnail. Hold on. No. You have the aftermath photo, which I might use for this week's thumbnail.
Oh, okay.
But with that being said, thank you all for listening along as I told the story of Waco. We really do appreciate you listening or watching, depending on what platform you're on. YouTube and Spotify is where we are at. If you like the audio, obviously Spotify. However, the video is on there if you want to watch it on Spotify, which I don't know why you want to do that. But if you do, cool. Not going to judge you. If you want to watch the video format where our beautiful faces are in it, hello, then go to YouTube at the Break Room channel. And Trey, do you have anything else to add before we cap this off?
No, other than I want everyone to know expect a possible name change.
Yeah, I guess I could have said that before I said the name of the channel, shouldn't I? Either way, me and Trey are deciding on a new name for the channel, which might come in the next week or so. I personally decided that we should not be called the Break Room anymore or the Break Room Podcast because there's like 20 different Break Room channels and 20 different Break Room podcasts, and we want to be unique. Unique as in we don't want to have the same name as someone else. So
Right.
our name's going to be mostly the same as it is now, just with a couple big tweaks to it. And I hope people enjoy it and that we can feel more comfortable about being on the platform and not trying to have the same name as someone else and someone gets offended by it, essentially.
Correct.
So with that being said, thank you for watching. We hope you have a great week, and we will talk to you next Saturday.
Yes,
Goodbye,
sir.
everyone.
Goodbye.